Today is the 9th of May 2026, and today is the last day of our 15-day intensive meditation retreat. Yesterday I mainly focused my talk on how meditators witness the three levels of characteristics: individual characteristics, conditional characteristics, and common characteristics. As their concentration gradually deepens and strengthens, I explain how they discern the rapid rising and passing away of physical and mental phenomena, while simultaneously experiencing special mental qualities such as rapture, serenity, and bliss that they may never have experienced before. I also discuss how they gradually dispel wrong views corresponding to the insights they acquire. Whenever meditators attain a certain level of insight or wisdom, faith and confidence naturally arise and become stronger. When meditators begin to see things as they truly are, the realities of physicality and mentality, the truths of life and existence, in ways they have never seen, imagined, or experienced before through their direct experience, faith undoubtedly arises. Moreover, when they experience mental freedom, peace, calmness, bliss, serenity, happiness, and tranquility that were once beyond their reach of imagination, faith spontaneously emerges. Confidence in themselves and in the practice takes hold. Nobody else needs to ask them to believe in the practice. At every stage, these qualities become deeper and stronger. When one sees what has never been seen before, or experiences what has never been experienced before, one naturally appreciates it, thinking, wow, it is true, it is amazing. Then the willingness to know or experience more arises. This willingness encourages stronger effort. As effort becomes stronger, mindfulness becomes sharper. When mindfulness becomes more penetrating, concentration deepens further. And as concentration deepens, deeper insight arises again. So with each deeper insight, faith becomes even stronger. Then willingness, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom continue strengthening one another in a continuous cycle of development. And it is crucial to cultivate these five mental qualities: faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, because they are mental strengths. They are mental strengths, mental forces, or mental powers. Their growth will eventually lead one to attain path and fruition knowledge, which uproot mental defilements or mental illnesses. It is true that as long as these mental qualities are present and strong, mental defilements can hardly hold of the mind. However, however, there is still no absolute guarantee until those defilements are completely uprooted. Only when the defilements are eradicated can one remain truly contained. When the path knowledges are fully developed and the corresponding defilements are uprooted, one becomes free from the arising of mental defilements or illnesses. So this is the state of complete moral, this is the state of complete mental health, peace, and liberation. If, if here and now we are unable to attain the path and fruition knowledges, at least we should try our best to keep our minds strong and powerful, so that defilements or mental illnesses do not arise frequently. To keep the mind strong, healthy, and stable, certain mental qualities need to be present and well developed. These are none other than the qualities we have just discussed: effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, and faith. In addition, they also include moral shame and moral fear. Moral shame and moral fear. So these seven qualities are regarded as mental strengths or mental powers. As long as these qualities are present and sufficiently strong, one's mental health remains stable and well protected. For instance, when your immune system is strong, you rarely become sick. Even if you do become ill for some reason, recovery is usually easier and quicker. In contrast, when immune system is weak, the body becomes vulnerable to disease and Even minor illnesses can become serious and difficult to overcome. Similarly, when these wholesome mental qualities are weak, the mind becomes vulnerable to defilements such as greed, anger, jealousy, and fear, anxiety, frustration, and delusion. Even small problems can easily disturb the mind. Even small problems can easily disturb the mind and create suffering. But when these mental strengths are well cultivated, the mind remains resilient, balanced, peaceful, and capable of facing difficulties with wisdom and calmness. Therefore, even if we have not yet attained the highest realizations, we should continuously cultivate and strengthen these wholesome qualities in our daily lives. In doing so, we gradually protect the mind from suffering and move closer toward true freedom and liberation. So among these 7 mental qualities, I have already explained the first 5. Only 2 remain to be explained. 2 remain to be explained, and they are moral shame and moral fear. These 2, moral shame in Pali Hiri and moral fear, Ottappa, are crucial and essential mental qualities for preventing and curing defilements. And to understand these 2 wholesome mental qualities, it is helpful first to know their opposites: the absence of moral shame and the absence of moral fear. Being shameless in committing misconduct is called shamelessness. This mental state arises when a person has lost their inner sense of concern and self-respect. Just as a village pig feels no shame in consuming filth, a person with this mentality feels no shame in engaging in unwholesome deeds, whether through body, speech, or mind. They may even take pride in what should be regretted, finding satisfaction in what brings harm. A village pig may boast among other pigs about how much filth it has eaten. Likewise, of a thief. A thief may boast among other thieves about how much he has stolen. Such a mind has become coarse and insensitive when shamelessness dominates, one's moral compass is lost. The heart becomes blind to what is blameworthy, and one begins to rationalize and justify wrong actions. This defilement erodes integrity, leading the person further into darkness. Being fearless in committing misconduct is called fearlessness, anotapa in Pali. This arises when the mind has no dread or concern about the consequences of wrongdoing. Just as just as small insects do not fear to approach a flame, but by the next morning they lie dead, so too a person with this mentality feels no fear or restraint in doing unwholesome deeds. At the moment they feel bold and unrestrained, but later they inevitably suffer the painful results of their actions. And remember, there are always four dangers that arise when one commits wrongdoing. First, the danger of self-reproach or self-blaming. After committing an unwholesome deed, one's own consent torments them. The mind becomes restless and uneasy, filled with regret and inner criticism. Second, the danger of blame from others. Others may condemn, criticize, or lose respect for the wrongdoer, causing shame and social dishonor. Third, the danger of punishment. If one's action breaks laws or social rules, this danger arises in the form of penalties imposed by authorities or other external form of retribution that result from one's misconduct. Fourth, the danger of an unfortunate rebirth. Because of one's unwholesome action, suffering is experienced in future existences, falling into woeful states such as hell, an animal realm, or the realm of hungry ghosts. Thus, every act of wrongdoing carries these fourfold dangers. Fourfold dangers. The danger of self criticism, the danger of blame from others, the danger of punishment, and the danger of an unfortunate rebirth. However, a person who lacks moral fear feels no fear of these dangers. In contrast, Hiri moral shame means feeling shameful about misconduct. And otapa, moral fear, means feeling dread or moral fear toward misconduct. Moral shame arises from inner integrity, self-respect, and a sense of honor. It is, it is the recognition that immoral or unwholesome actions are beneath one's dignity. When moral shame is strong, a person naturally refrains from wrongdoing, not out of fear of punishment or public opinion, but out of respect for their own virtue and purity of heart. Such a person, such a person reflects wisely, like, oh, it is not proper for someone like me who has been well educated to act in this way. It is not suitable for one of noble character to engage in unwholesome deeds. It is not fitting for one who upholds the Dhamma to behave in a manner that dishonors it. And while moral shame arises from self-respect and inner purity, moral fear arises from respect for others and for the moral law. A person with moral fear considers, oh, it is not proper for someone like me who has such a noble teacher to act in this way. It is not proper for one who has faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, or Sangha to engage in misconduct. It would bring shame to my parents, my teachers, my community. Through such reflections, moral fear prevents a person from harming others or bringing dishonor to those they revere. It is born from gratitude, reverence, and understanding of interdependence, that one's action do not affect oneself alone but ripple to touch many lives. So when moral shame and moral fear work together, they form a complete safeguard for moral conduct. They form a complete safeguard for moral conduct. Moral shame restrains from within, and moral fear restrains from without. I repeat, moral shame restrains from within, and moral fear restrains from without. Together they are known as the gardens of the world. In Pali, Loka Pala Dhamma, guardians of the world. For when these two qualities are firmly established in the hearts of people, the world remains peaceful and safe. It is said that the absence of moral shame and moral fear leads to the decline of moral order, because animals lack moral shame and moral fear. They fight, harm, and even devour one another without restraint. They engage in mating without any sense of modesty or moral discernment, without distinction between parents, offsprings, brothers, or sisters. Their actions are driven solely by instinct, delusion, and craving, unrestrained by consent or moral shame and fear. In contrast, what separates human beings from animals is precisely presence of moral fear and moral shame. These two qualities give rise to ethical boundaries, respect and restraint. They form the foundation of civilization, supporting family harmony, social order, and the cultivation of the path leading to liberation. When moral shame and moral fear disappear, even humans become like animals. Humans become like animals, driven by greed, hatred, and delusion. But when these guardians are strong, they uplift the mind and protect both the individual and the world from moral downfall. This is why they are called guardians of the world. Moral shame and moral fear are also known as Sukha Dhamma in Pali, or white Dhammas, white qualities. Just as one wears white clothes under the scorching sun, because white reflects heat instead of absorbing it. These two wholesome mental qualities do not absorb unwholesome influences. Instead, they reflect them and prevent them from penetrating the mind. In the same way that sunlight bounces off a white cloth, Hiri, the moral shame, and Ottappa, the moral fear, repel unwholesome tendencies before they can take root. They act as a protective shield, keeping the mind pure and undefiled. When these qualities are strong, such as greed, hatred, and delusion, are less likely to enter and disturb the heart. They do not suppress or fight the defilements with force, but rather, by their very presence, they naturally kick away unwholesome tendencies, keeping the mind clear, bright, and mindful. To illustrate this, the ancient teachers gave the example of two iron balls. One is cold but smeared with filth, while the other is red hot and glowing. So two iron balls, one is cold but smeared with filth, while the other is red hot and glowing. A wise person will not touch the first ball out of moral shame, the sense of shame at being defiled by impurity, and they will not touch the second out of moral fear, the fear of being burned by its heat. In the same way, the wise avoid misconduct, physical misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct through both moral shame and moral fear. Moral shame protects them from inner defilement, and moral fear protects them from the painful consequences that follow wrongdoing. Together, these two qualities safeguard the purity of the mind, preserves harmony in society, and form the foundation for all moral and spiritual development. They form the foundation for all moral and spiritual development. So, in the practice of Vipassana meditation, these two white mental qualities, moral shame and moral fear, naturally develop. The more a meditator advances in meditation, the stronger these qualities become. I repeat, the more a meditator advances in meditation, the stronger these qualities become. In other words, the stronger one's mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, the stronger moral shame and moral fear grow. In contrast, if one's effort, mindfulness, and concentration are weak, and defilements are easily allowed to arise, this shows that moral shame and moral fear are also weak. When moral shame and moral fear are not firmly established, the mind becomes vulnerable to defilements, losing its clarity and stability in practice. So this development occurs when a meditator realizes how defilements are always seeking the weakest point, how they linger, waiting for the right moment, and how easily they can conquer the mind when mindfulness is absent. Moreover, once a meditator truly perceives how defiling, how hindering, agitating, how disturbing and exhausting these defilements are, they become deeply careful not to lose mindfulness even for a moment, especially especially when they experience firsthand how defilements can make the inner vision foggy and clouded, how they can dull the mind and weaken wisdom. The meditator becomes extra vigilant, determined to protect mindfulness as their most precious refuge. There comes a stage in meditation when a meditator begins to feel shameful and fearful even at the arising of defilement in the mind, even for a single moment. Even for a single moment, meditators meditator begin to feel shameful and fearful, even at the arising of defilements, even for a single moment. They reflect in this way, oh, how shameful it is for someone like me who has been striving so hard to allow defilements to enter the mind. They reflect, oh, how shameful for someone like me who has already developed such and such knowledge and understanding to let defilements arise again. How shameful for someone like me who has been practicing for such a long time to still permit these unwholesome states to appear. So they may also reflect in this way. They may also reflect in this way, oh, how shameful it would be if my fellow meditators or my teacher knew that I still have such unwholesome thoughts rising in my mind. They have such reflection, and they also clearly recognize how dangerous the defilements are, understanding the painful consequences they can bring if not restrained. In this way, a meditator begins to feel shameful and fearful, even at the arising of defilements in the mind, even for a single moment. Now, now just imagine, now just imagine if someone feels ashamed and fearful even of defilements arising merely as passing thoughts. How could it be possible for them to engage in unwholesome actions through body or speech? At this stage, the mind itself becomes a sanctuary, guarded by the natural presence of moral shame and moral fear. Even a fleeting, unwholesome intention is made with immediate moral awareness, preventing it from manifesting outwardly. This reflects the deep protective power of these two wide mental qualities, which safeguard both inner purity and external conduct. At this stage, a meditator no longer needs much inspiration or encouragement from others, because their own moral shame and moral fear continually push them forward on the path of liberation. Hence, these two guardian mental qualities play a vital role in protecting the mind from defilements or mental illnesses, as well as in healing them. They also play a crucial role in protecting both one's own, one's own world and the world of others, keeping the mind pure and wholesome, and maintaining it strong, powerful, and healthy. So, just as you take care of your physical health so that you can remain strong, healthy, and free from disease, you should also take care of your mental health. From the moment you wake up in the morning, you care of your body, you clean yourself, go to walks, exercise, and at least once a day you take a bath. You may also take vitamins or supplements to strengthen your immune system. Beyond all these efforts, in order to stay healthy, to have the strength to fight diseases and to live well and live longer, you nourish your body with food every day. With food every day. Similarly, to take care of your mental health and remain free from mental illnesses, practice meditation regularly, if possible once or twice a day. Practice mindfulness in daily life as much as you can through meditation. Cultivate and strengthen the 7 mental qualities. 7 mental qualities: effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, faith, moral shame, and moral fear, so that your mental immune system becomes strong and resilient. In this way, may you all be able to keep your minds free from mental illnesses, remain mentally healthy, and enjoy inner peace, calmness, happiness, and mental bliss.